Welcome to the Boundary Spanning page at seniorfellowsandfriends.com. This network has done some work this year on boundary spanning, and not just at the executive level, and we think it's pretty important. And the next 9 minutes of the video will introduce you to the other people who are thinking about this and partnering together. There are big problems that can't be solved, that we can't make progress on as long as agencies and other entities aren't able to partner. The only conversation we won't be entertaining is the one that says, I'm unempowered, I can't do anything, or that says, we know how everything works, we don't need to learn anything new, and we have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. Other than those two conversations, we're open to what you have to say, your best reasoning, and your friendship, your goodwill, and your willingness to partner with other people to move this argument forward, to move this discussion forward. And it doesn't matter whether you're a GS7 or whether you're a senior executive. All voices that are coming from a place of goodwill and willingness to work and show up with whatever you've got are welcome. You know, there are big problems that government can't solve as long as each group of people is working in its own silo. And it doesn't work for only the tops to communicate with each other. There has to be a change in behavior that involves all people of goodwill inside agencies who are able and willing to extend themselves to reach across. Some of the solution is organizational and some of the solution is individual, as in, you don't wait for somebody to tap you and tell you you're special before you show up and start talking to people. We think this would solve a lot of problems. So what I'd like you to do is, invite you to do is look at the next 9 minutes and then read the ebook. We'll show you the URL and it's available on this page. And then tell us what you think your issues are and how we can move forward. Because the status quo is not going to cut it. And everyone is responsible. Thank you. I would ask you some questions, and then we'll just kind of see what happens from there. Okay, so Zeke, I am really I was really interested that you were the first person that responded to the invitation I put out last year. I loved the email that you sent back, which basically the way I've remembered it is the first thing you said was yes, and the second thing you said was, and now who are you again? I just loved that, and I'm going, okay, I really am looking forward to this. So I'm just curious, what was it about the invitation that appealed to you?
The cuff, because I don't really remember. I hadn't thought about that reaction, but the Knowledge Lab. So you know what I mean, Kitty, but I don't know about Christy and Diane. This was really a 5-year period in my life between 2005 and 2010, in which Kitty and I met at one time. Anyway, this 5-year period was, I don't know how to describe it, but really transformational for me. You know, one of those periods of time, and it had just kind of been left in my past, although kind of where I am in the present has been shaped by that 5-year experience. But when you contacted me, I all of a sudden saw, without any kind of details, a way to perhaps kind of bring that back to the surface and maybe share some things and reflect on some things that I hadn't had a chance to do, because when you're actually doing things, it's really hard to actually reflect on what you're doing. Yeah.
Well,
So that's why I jumped at this, not knowing exactly what I was going to write about, but that was why.
see, what I really love about that is the fact that you didn't have to have all the answers first. So I was really honored, frankly, that you did respond, because when you and Rob Cross did the session over at the Potomac Forum in Arlington, that was one of the most exciting meetings I've ever been in. Just listening to what you'd done and what had changed at DIA. So anyway, thank you very much. And we might come back to that later, but I appreciate it. Okay, so now let's move on to Christy. And what I know you, we've known each other for a long time, and I would have been a little surprised if you hadn't been interested. What actually made you participate? Because you're busy at DFW and you've got a 2-year-old, and I just didn't know what you'd be able to or want to do.
Sure, and thank you for asking. And before I respond, I'd like to actually reflect on what Adrian just mentioned. One of the great advantages of the Zoom medium is you can see people's nonverbal reactions. And when you said transformation, everybody did this. And then when you said that when you're in the middle of something, you can't simultaneously reflect upon it, and everyone did this. So I just wanted to honor that you stated that. And I feel like that's a lot of what a lot of us are trying to build, is capacity to reflect while either in crisis or leading whatever operation, leading whatever we need to be leading. But that whole capacity to do both, we're not naturally encouraged to do that. And the fact that you said that, it just really resonated. So otherwise, to your point, Kitty, I am the infinitely enthusiastic when it comes to projects that help with articulating ideas that we all have and commonalities that we all sense that we haven't yet had an opportunity to put in one place. So that's what appealed to me about it. I think it strikes a hugely important chord. Boundary spanning is the ultimate capability for delivering greatness, and greatness can look like a lot of things. It's mission agnostic, it's a lot of things agnostic, but that capacity, if you get that right, the rest will follow. So I just was really excited and delighted to even be part of it, and hope I can continue to elaborate on whatever it is. And I see it as very organic, dynamic, no real intention except to contribute.
And I also appreciated your sense of humor, as did John Sporing, who hosted the initial, the face-to-face get-together in Reston, because when the taxi dropped me off at his condo, he met me at the door and handed me a FedEx package. And when I opened the FedEx package, so it was addressed to me at his house, it was full of these rubber frogs. And since the white paper that was sent around was entitled Boiling Frog, I thought it was hilarious. And it actually made me laugh for a couple of days. And I think, Diane, you still have some of the frogs.
I do. I look at them every day.
Yeah. So, okay, so Diane, now that you're talking, now tell us what drew you to that initial meeting?
Well, what drew me to the initial meeting was that you asked me to come. And having an invitation from you, I accepted. And the reason that I was asked to come was to take notes. So I did take notes, and I didn't really talk very much during the meeting. But a lot of the discussion resonated with me. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt that I could write something about my direct experience. It's not, I don't even know what other people would think about what I wrote. about my experience, which was shared by many people, I think they would not recognize it a lot. And the more I thought about it, the more I found value in it.
So one of the things that says to me, and Senior Fellows and Friends is sort of a frame-breaking venture. And by that I mean, and I think you put your finger on it, everybody can look at the same thing, and some people will see something growing and interesting and helping people thrive, and other people will not. And that really depends on what frame of reference they've got at the moment. And as I recall, we talked a couple of times because I knew you had done that work with the regional office staff. In fact, you had been working with them for a long time. So I wanted to see if you thought about it, what you could pull out of that experience. And did you feel that was helpful to you when you arrived at the other end and actually put it on paper? Was that helpful to you?
It was very helpful. But also as Christy was talking about reflecting while you're in the midst of a situation that can be stressful, I don't know that I knew what I felt, but I didn't reflect on it until later when I was no longer in the middle of that situation. I could see it much more clearly.